Sometimes you just want to play something easy, strong, and low effort. So we put together 2 champions for each role that are beginner-friendly, brain-friendly, and just solid picks that basically play themselves. And don't worry, this isn't the same old list of champions like Annie, Warwick, and Malphite. We're keeping things simple and interesting, with champs that are just as easy to play, but honestly, just way more fun to play. And the best part? These are the kinds of picks that will genuinely launch you up the ladder. In fact, it's something we're confident enough in to actually guarantee. And let's be real, nobody is bold enough to ever guarantee anything. Dating apps can't guarantee matches, gyms can't guarantee gains, coaches can't guarantee ranks. As if they did, they'd all go bankrupt overnight. But at SkillCapped, we've offered the same guarantee for over a decade. Climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service or get your money back. No questions asked, because if you don't see results, we believe you shouldn't have to pay. How we're able to do this is because our world-class courses focus on teaching you what truly matters for your rank. From essential courses for every role designed to teach you exactly what you need to rank up fast, to low elo analysis that helps you identify your own mistakes and, more importantly, fix them. Check out the exclusive discount link in the description below and begin climbing risk-free today. But let's get back to the video. Starting off, we have our first top lane pick, and if there's one word that sums up this entire champion, it's push. You guessed it, Dr. Mundo. If you like being so insanely tanky that players basically tickle you, while also being able to do this to them, Mundo is about as good as it gets right now. Mundo's only real weakness at the moment is his early game, but honestly, it barely matters. Even in his more difficult matchups, you can just chill, farm with Q, and focus on surviving while looking to proc Grasp whenever possible. And when you pair that with Doran's shield, second wind, biscuit delivery, and the increased health regen from his passive, you're nearly impossible to ever force out of lane. In fact, despite the weak early, you'll often end up out-sustaining and just out-poking your opponent anyway if you can hit a few cleavers. Once Mundo gets a few health items, that's when he really starts to shine. You basically become an immovable object in the side lane, able to just keep pushing non-stop. And even when you group, Mundo's still one of the best frontline tanks in the game right now. Sure, you don't have any hard CC, but between your insane tankiness and surprisingly high damage, you're a nightmare to deal with. For some quick tips, although Mundo's kit is pretty straightforward, there are a lot of players who misuse his W. How this works is that there's 2 parts to it. When you first use it, for the first 0.75 seconds, he stores up to 95% of the damage dealt as this gray health you see here. Then the second part is you can either let it run out and heal for 50% of that, or if you reactivate it while near a champion, you'll heal for 100%. Meaning you ideally want to press it when you know you're going to take a big chunk of burst, and then reactivate it while they're still in range. Next is that once you reach level 16, your ultimate gains a new effect, increasing the initial healing and healing over time based on how many champions are nearby. And lastly, your E is not only an auto attack reset, but also a great tool to both harass and push waves with in lane, as if used to last hit a minion, he'll swat it forward, dealing damage to everything it passes through. For runes, pick up Grasp with Inspiration secondary. When it comes to items, rush Warmog's armor first, then build into Heartsteel. From there, you've got options. If you want more damage, go Titanic Hydra. If you're looking for more healing and survivability, Spirit Visage is the move. You can round out the rest of your build with either more offensive split push options like Overlord's Bloodmail or Sundered Sky, or go full tank with items like Deadman's Plate, Thornmail, Randuin's Omen, or Unending Despair, depending on what you need. Maxing Q, E, W in that order. Our next top lane suggestion may come as a bit of a surprise, Nocturne. This is a completely new spin on Nocturne that takes full advantage of the Jack of all trades rune, turning him into a completely brain-dead, easy-to-play top lane monster. Instead of being a squishy assassin that dives the back line, deletes one target, and dies right after, you become a bruiser that still dishes out just as much damage, but actually lives through fights, making the champion even more forgiving. Here's how it works. You start with Doran's Blade, then build into Stridebreaker, Frozen Heart, and Canik Rookern. Once those are complete, you'll fully activate the bonus effects from the Jack of all trades rune, which you'll want to combine with this rune page here. From there, you can round out your build with more bruiser items like Black Cleaver or Sterix, and lean into tankier options like Jock Show, Randuin's, or Thornmail depending on the game. One important note, once you hit your 3-item core, you're still relying on the lifesteal from Doran's Blade to hit the 10th unique stat required for Jack of all trades. If you're running Merc Treads, Tenacity will cover that stat, letting you safely sell Doran's later on. But if you need plated steel caps, you'll want to replace Doran's with either Sterix Gauge or Serpent's Fang to keep the bonus active. This exact build and playstyle has been something our subscribers have been abusing for weeks now, ever since it was featured in a live commentary by our challenger coach Strompus. So if you want to check that out, as well as ensure you stay ahead of the meta with the latest overpowered builds players are abusing to climb, make sure to hit the link in the description below. But for playstyle, Nocturne is a super strong duelist in the early game and can beat most meta top laners quite comfortably. And as he's fairly new, most players you face won't know this. Just make sure you're taking advantage of your Q to gain the bonus AD and trading around the fear on your E to pick up some easy kills. Then once you get Tiamat, you can one-shot waves with just the combination of Q and your passive auto, but just be careful with your mana usage early, as this is his one downside. But combine his wave clear with your level 6 and you can begin helping your jungler around objectives or even ganking mid, as you'll always be the first to any fight that breaks out. Moving over to the jungle, our first pick is a champion that every jungle main looking to climb should be playing right now, Xin Zhao. He is living proof that sometimes simple really is just better. Shin's early game is basically unmatched, and in 1v1s or small skirmishes, his consistent damage and healing make him absolutely insane. On top of that, he's one of the strongest and easiest to execute early game gankers out there. You can just walk into a lane, dive in with your E or hit W first to extend the range, then follow up with a Q auto reset for a quick burst of damage and knockup, making him fantastic at securing leads and pressuring the map. And unlike most early game focused junglers, Xin actually scales surprisingly well into the mid and late game. As with a bruiser oriented build, you still deal a ton of damage, but you also become incredibly hard to kill, especially in small skirmishes where you thrive. But even in bigger and more late game team fights, if you manage to get onto a carry, you can just press R, knock everyone else away, and take them down while their team helplessly watches. For runes, we suggest this Conqueror rune page with Boots and Cosmic Insight as your secondaries. For items, start Blue Smite before working towards Sundered Sky, Black Cleaver, and Sterix, rounding out your build with items like Death's Dance, Maw of Malmortius, Spirit Visage, and Guardian Angel. As for our second jungle pick, we've got a champion that's absolutely dominating the meta right now, and was even featured in our recent tier list as one of the best solo carry champs in the game, Trundle. Again, he's another champion, much like Xin, that is completely foolproof, requires no mechanics, and does well at all stages of the game. Early game Trundle is a complete powerhouse into any AD jungler, so that's things like Xin, Viego, Lee, Nocturne, Kayn, you know, the champions you see every single game. The reason for this is that his Q reduces the target's attack damage, making him practically impossible to beat 1v1 for any AD jungler, so you can take every duel you see and comfortably know you'll come out on top. For ganking, all you have to do is pop down your W and use your pillar to block off their escape. Then between the increased movement speed from your W and constant slows from your Q, your target will struggle to ever get away. Going into the mid and late game, Trundle is actually very versatile. You can look to play front to back, ulting the enemy's tankiest player and melting the enemy front line with your team. Or you can just ult the tank and try to get into the back line, using that added survivability to chomp down on enemy carries. Always fight inside your W and look to use your E to either peel for your team, isolate enemy front line, or as a way to get on enemy carries. For runes, we suggest grabbing this rune page with Lethal Tempo, as when combined with the attack speed boost from your W and the auto reset from your Q, you'll be able to fully stack it in just a couple of seconds. For secondaries, pick up Free Boots and Approach Velocity to help chase targets down and enhance your ganking. Build-wise, start Blue Smite, then rush Trinity Force into Deadman's and Spirit Visage to round out your 3-item core. From here, you can either pick up more survivability from items like Jock Show, Thornmail, or Randuin's, or even opt for more damage from items like Titanic Hydra, Blade of the Ruined King, or even Wit's End. And if you're serious about climbing, check out our Jungle Clear course. You'll learn the optimal clear for every meta jungler and pick up some hidden tricks along the way. Moving on to mid lane, the usual go-to picks for beginners, or really anyone looking for an easy champ, are Malzahar and Annie, and honestly, they're still solid choices. But if you're looking for something a little different, our first recommendation is Mel. Going by win rate alone, you wouldn't think Mel is in the best spot, but with the build we're about to give you, she not only gets infinitely stronger, but far easier to play. See, where many Mel players go wrong is by maxing Q, but instead, we're going to max E. The problem with Q max is that it drains way too much mana, and it's difficult to hit all the bolts to get the full effect. Whereas E max massively improves your wave clear, reduces the cooldown, and increases the root duration, making you safer in lane, and just offers way more teamfight damage and utility. Just as a champion, Mal is one of the easiest control mages to pick up. Her passive makes last hitting a breeze thanks to the execute, and she's super safe in lane thanks to her W, which will make you immune to damage and reflect projectiles back at your opponent. This can be ridiculously strong against any champions with easy to counter telegraphed CC, like Twisted Fate, Lux, and Nico to name a few, as you can just reflect their CC to guarantee your full combo, resulting in a very easy kill. For team fighting, you want to play safe on the outskirts of fights, playing around the cooldown of your E to set up the damage of your Q. Then, once you have enough stacks of your passive on the target, you'll see them glow red, which means you can execute them with your ult. Build-wise, we recommend starting with Archangel's Staff, followed by Cosmic Drive, and then Crypt Bloom. You can then round out the build with Death Cap, and then Shadow Flame or Zanya's. This setup gives you a strong mix of damage, ability haste, and survivability, and with your W and root from E, you become very hard to shut down. For runes, you'll want to grab this Comet page with Presence of Mind and Legend Haste as secondaries, making sure to pick up the attack speed shard to make last hitting and your early laning a little stronger. Next up, our second mid lane champion suggestion suggestion is something a little different, Diana. Now, yeah, this might come as a shock, as when you think easy mid laners, Diana probably isn't the first one that comes to mind, but trust us, Diana is one of the best mid lane picks right now for players who want something easy to learn that's also insanely strong. Despite being an assassin, Diana is surprisingly durable and can hold her own against practically any meta mid laner right now, while scaling into an absolute beast in the late game. As you're a melee champion, you'll want to play the first couple of levels fairly safe and preserve health, picking up what CS you can while farming with your Q and soaking up poke with your W. But once you hit level 3, you can start to play more aggressive, as if you hit a single Q on your lane opponent, you can dash in with E, pop your W, and proc electrocute, which outtrades practically any other mid laner. Once you hit level 6 though is where Diana truly comes online, as between the slow and pullback on your R and reset on E, all it takes to threaten a kill is landing a single Q. What makes Diana so great though is once mid game hits, she has a ton of options. She's great in the side lane, as you can 1v1 most champions. She's great at roaming, as you can clear waves super fast with your Q and passive, and she's also one of the easiest assassins to teamfight on, as aside from being much more durable and forgiving, one good ult on multiple players can instantly win you the entire fight, making her all around just a fantastic pick with a surprisingly low skill floor. For build, pick up Storm Surge into Shadow Flame and then Death Cap and Zanya's, finishing off your build with Void Staff. As for runes, you'll want this Electrocute page with Resolve as your secondary. Next up, we're going to be looking at ADC, and our first champion suggestion is one every ADC looking to climb should be abusing right now, Sivir. Buff after buff has left her as one of the most dominating ADCs right now, and luckily enough, she's arguably the easiest one in the game to play. The reason for this is that she's just completely busted at clearing waves. You press W, auto attack the wave as it comes in, and then throw your Q through it. The value of this is just out of this world. To start, in the early game, this means that you can completely neutralize the entire lane phase. So if you're somebody who maybe isn't the strongest laner or is fed up of being griefed by your support, well, it doesn't matter. You can always just farm and passive harass your opponent with W ricochets while doing so. This then allows you to both out-farm and outscale your opponent with ease. And even when it gets to the mid-game, you can continue doing this. Just immediately push the wave and then look to group up with your team, and if you continue doing this, you'll just passively get so far ahead of the enemy ADC. Then in the late game, Sivir is an absolute beast in team fights, as you can just safely hit the front line while your W bounces and does a stupid amount of damage to the back line. And despite not having an escape, the spell shield from your W and speed boost from your R keeps you very safe. And we know this works because Sivir was one of the champs our challenger coach Hector recommended to Zot in our Bronze to Diamond ADC series. Despite having some of the worst mechanics we've ever seen, no offense Zot, he still pulled off a 70% win rate on her just by prioritizing waves and building massive leads through farming. So if you haven't seen that yet, make sure to check out the full playlist right here on YouTube. Anyway, for build, pick up this Lethal Tempo rune page with Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm as secondaries, opting for Yuntal as your first item into Infinity Edge, and then Navori Flickerblade. Capping off the build with Lord Doms or Mortal Reminder and then Bloodthirster. But if you're after something even easier, then look no further than Misfortune. But not just any Misfortune, we're talking Lethality Misfortune. Misfortune is one of the few ADCs that require very minimal mechanics to pull off. Last hitting is simplified through her passive. Your strut makes it so that you can maneuver around the map quickly, avoid ganks, and even keep safe in teamfights. And your Q is a super strong and easy tool to trade around in lane. Then once it comes to team fighting, all you really need to do is set yourself up for a big ultimate and watch your opponent's health bars melt. For builds, we suggest rushing Hubris as your first item before going Collector into Cyrilda's Grudge, with Bloodthirster as your fourth item. Although Hubris is often seen as a snowball item, games in lower elos often end up being so messy and lasting for so long that you'll get it stacked up regardless, whereas Ghostblade really isn't needed as you're fast enough anyway. As for runes, pick up this First Strike page with Gathering Storm and Mana Flow Band as your secondaries. Last up, let's cover our recommended support picks this patch. Our first suggestion, and arguably the strongest support in the game right now, is Nami. Nami is a champion that has an incredibly high skill ceiling, yet one of the lowest and most effective skill floors in the game, making putting the work into playing her well worth it. What makes Nami so strong and easy to play right now is how insanely versatile she is. You can basically adapt to whatever your team's doing and still be impactful. You've got great engage and disengage with your ult and movement speed buffs, amazing sustain or poke in lane through your W, damage amp and catch potential with your E and Q, and overall just solid peels. Basically, Nami does everything, and she does it all really well. During lane, you should be looking to play aggressively. Ideally, your ADC trades using your E for extra damage, while you follow up with a W to heal them, which will then bounce onto the enemy for even more poke. But let's be honest, it's probably going to be up to you, so don't be afraid to take the initiative. If your ADC is playing passive, just walk up, E yourself, land a couple of autos, drop a W, and then back off. Truthfully, the hardest part about learning Nami is landing her Q stun, but the biggest tip we can give you here is to ideally always look to slow the target with your E first before attempting to land it. Otherwise, Otherwise, use it as a follow-up off of other CC like your own ultimate, but even then, it's always easier to land your Q if you're using it as a disengage tool. For your support item, Dreammaker is the go-to in most games, but if your ADC locks in an AP carry, Solstice Slay becomes a solid option since you won't get much value from Dreammakers on hit damage. Then work towards Imperial Mandate as your only must-have item. From here, you can opt for stuff like Shirelia's for more engage, Redemption for more healing, Mikhail's against heavy CC comps, or either Staff of Flowing Water or Ardent to further buff your chosen carries. As for runes, grab this Airy page with free boots and Cosmic Insight. And finally, for our last support suggestion, we have a pick for those of you who prefer a more carry and poke-oriented support pick, Zyra. But this isn't just any old Zyra build. This is a full brain-dead auto win lane poke Zyra. Instead of the usual E, Q, W max, you're going to want to go Q first, then W, and E last. Here's why. Maxing E only increases its damage, which isn't super meaningful early on, but maxing Q lowers the cooldown, which means you can spawn more plants and poke way more often, allowing you to hold on to E for when you actually need it, either to catch enemies out or disengage. And when you follow this up by maxing W second, you can drop even more plants, which is where the bulk of Zyra's real damage comes from, spawning plants and proccing your items and runes. It's a playstyle that top Zyra players are abusing, and for good reason. More plants means more pressure, more poke, and a much easier and safer playstyle. But there's one simple mechanic you need to master to make this build really work, and it's where a lot of low elo Zyra players mess up. They'll drop their seeds first, and then use an ability to activate them, but what you should be doing is the opposite. Cast your ability first, then place your seeds immediately after, during the slight delay. This gives you way more control over plant positioning, which allows you to get more hits, and even lets you extend their range, since the plant spawn radius is larger than the actual damage zone of your Q or E. Once you get this down, you'll be able to poke from safer distances and chase enemies down from much farther away. To make this build work, you're going to want to rush Faded Ashes, then work towards Leandry's and Blackfire Torch, upgrading your support item to Zazik's Realm Spike. From here, you can grab Rylai's and then Void Staff. For runes, you'll want this Comet page with Presence of Mind and Cut Down. All combined, you can just sit back and spawn plants from crazy distances, which in turn proc Scorch, Comet, Leandry's Burn, Blackfire Burn, and just whittle enemies down thanks to Cut Down. You honestly don't even need to hit your Q if you can't get in range. Just play safe and continuously poke. This will mean going into fights, your opponents are always going to be low and allows for easy cleanup from your team. Want a deeper look at any of the champions featured in this guide? Well, be sure to check out our Smurf commentary page, where our challenger players break down exactly how you should be playing them. Plus, gain access to our full library of expert courses for every role and skill level. Click the link in the description and start climbing today. And there you have it, 10 of the easiest yet incredibly strong champions this patch that you should be playing to climb. Thank you so much for watching, good luck with your rank climbs, and we'll see you in the next one.